Begin now with Congressman Troy Nehls. He represents Texas's 22nd Congressional District. He is a member of the House Freedom Caucus and the Judiciary Committee as well, and he joins us on the phone. He voted today to keep Kevin McCarthy in place. Hello, Congressman. Good to have you with us.
Good to be with you.
Tell me, a lot of drama. We witnessed, I thought, a pretty robust debate on the House floor today on this subject. Give me a sense of why you voted the way you did and what happens next here, sir.
Well, listen. I think Matt Gaetz, he very articulate gentleman. I mean, he brought up some very valid points, very valid arguments. But I've always had to tell my friends. I said, if it's not Kevin McCarthy, then who? And I don't seem to ever get anybody else that is united behind another candidate. I mean, what you saw there today, you saw our majority leader, right? You saw him, Steve Scalise, advocating on behalf of Kevin McCarthy. You saw our whip, Tom Emmer, advocating behind Kevin McCarthy, and you saw others as well. And my point is, Jim Jordan was there advocating on behalf of Kevin McCarthy and supporting him. So I don't believe there's anybody else in this conference that could get 100 people behind them, more or less 218. So Kevin McCarthy has a tough job. It's an impossible job. It's the most impossible job in America.
And so you mentioned a member of leadership like Scalise. It strikes me that members of leadership typically stick together, at least publicly in moments like this. But if Scalise's name was put forward as Speaker of the House candidate, don't you think that there could actually be majority support for him?
No, there can't be, because Kevin McCarthy, in my opinion, out of the 222, there's probably 190 of them that aren't leaving him. They're just not. I think we demonstrated that, or many demonstrated that back in January when we went for the initial speaker's race. The most another candidate ever received, and they went and put 5 or 6 of them up. I think the most anybody ever received was 20 votes. Let's just say for today's argument, it doubled or tripled or quadrupled. There's no way, in my humble opinion, unless I don't understand this game, but I'm telling you, I don't think anybody else could even get to 80.
So what's going to happen next, though, Congressman, is presumably that we'll begin the speaker votes again, right? That is the next step. So the conferences are separating. Republicans and Democrats are going to meet separately. Then you'll all come back for a floor vote and begin voting on who you want to be the next House Speaker?
That's right. That's exactly what we're going to do. When that occurs, I don't know. But I think Kevin McCarthy comes back as the Speaker, I believe that. I believe because he has such a solid majority of the conference on his side, what you could see is some Democrats not voting for Kevin to be Speaker, but just not voting or just voting present. If the Democrats, you can find a dozen or two of those to just vote present, it reduces the threshold, and Kevin McCarthy won't need 218. He may not need 214. He could win it with 210.
But they wouldn't give present votes for free, would they, Congressman? They would expect something for that.
Probably not. I'm assuming probably not. But it is what it is. If the Democrats and anybody else want to get to work and try to get appropriations bills passed and do what's good for this country and for the American people and address all the different crises that we have across this country, some of them may say, hey, we need to get back to work, because otherwise, I tell you, Vince, we could be voting on this. We had 15. It took 15 times back in January.
Right.
We could be here till November voting on this, and I'm telling you, Kevin McCarthy's supporters, the large majority, they're not moving away from him.
I remember during that battle for Kevin McCarthy to become Speaker, there were a lot of conservatives who were upset that it was even happening. Why is there a fight? Why is anybody trying to prevent Kevin McCarthy from getting the job just yet? But over the course of those 15 rounds of votes, McCarthy did make a number of concessions, to include allowing a single-member motion to vacate, which we just saw exercised today by Matt Gaetz. And we also heard him make a number of promises, to include that he would move along these 12 individual spending bills in a fashion that hasn't been done since 1996. So when Matt Gaetz, you mentioned a moment ago, you thought he made a number of good arguments for his position, and there are things you agree with. Is that one of them, that Kevin McCarthy should have done more to honor that obligation?
Well, this is a very swampy place. There's so many different committees that are involved in these 12 appropriations bills. And I did say in an interview earlier, I said, I think we've got some time management issues here. There's no question about it. I mean, we made a commitment to the conference and stuff that we would take 12 appropriations bills one at a time on the floor, offer amendments, and that really didn't happen because here we are. We have 8 left.
Right.
Well, October 1st is gone. I mean, it was 2 days ago. And here we got all these appropriations bills. So some things I'm thinking, we had an extended recess in August. We all appreciate that. We're back in our districts working and stuff. But maybe we should have been addressing these issues early on and not waiting till come back here till middle of September when we still have 8 appropriations bills that we haven't passed.
And what the American people who are paying attention to this fear, certainly what I fear, is that Congress will do what it always does each year, which is they'll put everything right up against the wall. They'll say, hey, all of these people are going to be put out of work. They're not going to be paid. Checks aren't going to come. It's going to be a nightmare unless you slam through an omnibus spending bill with no visibility and a lot of goodies for lobbyists and special interests. Washington just can't function that way. Our country's dying, don't you think?
I agree, and that's what we've been doing for decades. I think Matt kind of mentioned some of that. And understand, I was one of the 21 that voted against the CR. I've never voted for a CR. I won't ever vote for a CR. And I was one of the 21. And then I had people, wanting to accuse me of not wanting to pay the troops or not wanting the Border Patrol to get paid or concerned about the air traffic controllers and it's going to get dangerous up in our skies. I said, hold on now. Pipe down here for a minute. We passed out of the House an FAA reauthorization in July, and Chuck Schumer's done nothing with it. We passed the defense bill last week of the Homeland Security bill. Chuck Schumer's not going to do anything with it. So the idea with the dishonest media saying that Nehls and a few of the others want to see these guys go hungry and Private Joe Snuffy not get paid, that's just not true.
What you and I, we had arranged to have you on prior to all of this news breaking because we wanted to talk to you in part about the stunts that Democrats pulled on this spending bill over the weekend, this gigantic the CR. Democrats, Jamal Bowman. What was the deal here? Jamal Bowman yanked a fire alarm on Saturday. He claims because he thinks that if you pull the fire alarm, he was maybe able to get out of the emergency door. Do you know anyone who buys that explanation?
No, that is a lie. It's a bold-faced lie. And how stupid do you think the American people are? He used to be a high school like a principal or something. I'm sure that he gave classes to all the students on fire alarms and don't pull fire alarms. You could get in big, big trouble. Hell, Vince, you and I learned that when we were in elementary school, middle school. You don't pull fire alarms. He pulled one in a federal building. It's a felony. He should be charged with it, and we should remove him from Congress. He needs to be gone. He committed a felony. If you're going to go out and charge 1,100 people for being in the Capitol without pulling a fire alarm, they're going to prison today. But you think this guy's got to be held accountable? But I really have no confidence in the corrupt DOJ and the FBI, or really, quite honestly, the leadership of the Capitol Police either, to actually get to the bottom of it and hold this individual accountable.
Yeah, although I am concerned that we haven't seen the actual video footage yet. It's been now it's been a couple days now. We've seen one still image. It is up to the Capitol Police have control of the footage, but ultimately the now former Speaker of the House, he could have actually released this, correct?
Well, what I would do, come on, if I was sheriff, what I would also say is, listen, we're investigating this. Give us a couple more days. Let's look into it. I just, in defense to them, I'd probably say, hey, listen, we need to release the videotape through a FOIA request, but it was, it's only been, 72 hours. Mm-hmm. I'd just give it a little bit more time, and I think that's going to be forthcoming.
What do you think he was trying to accomplish, though, by yanking a fire alarm to cause a distraction?
Delay. We were up there. They were trying to had a motion to adjourn. He just tried to delay the official proceedings of the House of Representatives. And that's what you saw with all the Democrats. They went up to the well. They were standing in the well. We wanted to, knock down this vote, and they just delayed it. And you saw them do it again today. So they don't want to put their voting card in the machine. They'll fill out this little card, and they'll do it one by one by one. And the delay tactic was to see what the Senate was what they were doing to negotiate their CR and what was going to come back. So it was a delay tactic. It was deliberate. And number one, he needs to be held accountable and charged with a felony.
Sure. And he was impeding an official congressional proceeding, which, as you point out, has been charged endlessly as a way to lock up their political opponents. Why not a guy who actually was legitimately impeding a congressional proceeding?
Wholeheartedly can't disagree with you. He's lucky nobody got hurt. I think that felony could even be enhanced.
Yeah.
So the problem is this guy's a little off of his rocker. I think he's a little unstable. He talks too loud. He talks too much. And I think he's not a stable individual.
Congressman Troy Nehls, before we let you go here, I want to ask you about the threats to congressmen. I realize like everybody seems to be at some threat in D.C., not just lawmakers. We saw a report overnight that Democrat Congressman Henry Cuellar of Texas was carjacked at gunpoint. He's kind of making light of it today. But D.C. is a dangerous area. We've also heard that D.C. police have briefed members of Congress about how to keep themselves safe in this city. Are you concerned about the crime rate and it's skyrocketing inside the nation's capital?
Well, of course, it's very dangerous around here. It's dangerous in all the liberal cities across America. I mean, I know it's crazy in San Francisco and some of these other Chicago, but it's dangerous up here as well. And just America, pay attention now. These are all controlled by Democrat-run cities. These are Democrat mayors, Democrat council members. They're all just crazy, and they don't mind. They don't want to lock up the criminals. And so I talked to Henry before we had this vote, and I said, Henry, I'm praying for you, buddy. I said, as a sheriff, when you have guns pointed in your face, and saying, give me your car, I want your keys. Hell, they even took his sushi. They took his sushi. And that's a life-changing event. Henry's brother, Martin, is a sheriff down there in South Texas, and we were texting back and forth. And I'm just telling you right now that I don't care what color you are, I don't care what side of the aisle you are, or how much money you have or you don't have. No one has a right to come up and put guns, barrels in your face, and demand anything for you. And just very, very fortunate that Henry was able to walk out of that thing without any serious injuries or possibly death.
Yeah, well, they'll believe they have that right if there's never any consequences for doing it, which is exactly what seems to be happening, unfortunately. Congressman Troy Nehls, thank you very much for your time today on a busy day and for helping us cover this breaking news. Thank you, sir.